What is the scariest thing you've witnessed in the middle of the night? I cut down a tree in my backyard one afternoon. The tree was in front of my backyard slider, so at night there was a lot more light coming in from the neighbors' lights and street lights. I get up the next morning before sunrise to make my coffee and I saw a shadowy figure down the hall. I yelled, "What the fuck?" At the moment I didn't realize that now more light was being let in by the lack of tree it cast my shadow on the wall. So basically I was a 37-year-old dude that was scared of my own shadow. Was riding along with my dad, who was a trucker. It was Christmas break, and sometime while driving through the night, he shouts, "Oh no," over and over again. I was laying in the truck cabin bed playing my PlayStation on the little TV, so I was a bit concerned. We hadn't hit anything. He tells me to put my shoes on, and we gotta help, and tells me to dial 911. So dad pulls over, and I see it behind our tractor trailer. A speeding car was going too fast and had rolled multiple times down a steep embankment. So we went to see if we could do anything while we waited for a family of 4, 2 kids in the back, no seat belts, no kids seats. Everyone inside was a crumpled bloody mess. Once ambulances came, we left. They arrived pretty quick, and though I can't say for certain, I was pretty sure the whole family had passed. Kinda messed me up a bit. Had never seen a body in that state, or a dead body outside of a funeral. Even to this day, 20 plus years later, I still think about what I had seen, even after going into the medical field and witnessing worse. Was staying the night at a new lady friend's house when I woke up at 4 AM to the strange sensation of someone watching me. I slightly opened my eyes, but didn't move. I saw someone staring at us from the partially open bedroom door. Her dog took notice at the same time, and I burst out of bed when the dog started barking. She wakes up in a panic and I yell for her to lock the door while I chase the intruder. She lived in a 3-story townhouse and the bedroom was on the 3rd floor. So I run down the stairs, then turned the corner to the next flight of stairs, only to see the front door swinging open. She's yelling from the bedroom, wondering what's going on. So I let her know that someone broke in. She then tells me that it was probably a psychotic ex-boyfriend that still has a key. Great. The next morning, we are getting ready to head back to place when I realized that my shoes were missing. The bastard stole my favorite pair of shoes. It was pretty wild having that feeling of someone watching you and having it be real. Primitive camping in the Boundary Waters alone, I had a full-blown moose walk up on me. Honestly feared for my life for a solid 4.5 minutes. The police banging my door at 3 AM looking for a missing teenage girl. Even though I knew my daughter was safe in her room, it still freaked me out. I once woke up from a nightmare about a demonic little girl to my little sister hovering above my bed. I freaked the F out and punched her in the nose. She had her own nightmare and was standing over me because she was debating whether or not to wake me up. I have a history of waking violently, so she was weighing whether it was worth it or not. We spent the rest of the night watching Disney movies. I live on a small farm in South Texas, about 40 acres, and one time at about 1 o'clock in the morning, my entire family and I heard a woman scream from somewhere behind our house. Like this shrill shriek. Our neighbors, who also live on a considerable amount of land, were on vacation, and our neighbor on the other 2 sides is a nearly 700-acre ranch. My dad went out with a flashlight and a gun, but couldn't find anything. The following dawn we found out it was a mountain lion imitating a scream before it ate some of our goats and dragged one into its cave. A few years ago, while my mom was doing laundry at like 9 PM, a woody toy on the floor, without any input, said, "You're my favorite deputy," and my mom nearly had a heart attack. My dog walking into my bedroom. She was afraid to walk up the stairs a few days ago. So just imagine the surprise when a formless creature jumped onto my bed. My time to shine. I was at an event with some friends in a city we were visiting. We had a good night out in town, and after some drinks we went back to the event to sleep. I slept in the living room on the couch. Middle of the night I woke up, sensing something was off. I don't know how I could sense this, but in the kitchen I see a dark silhouette of a person. At first I thought it was one of my friends getting some water or something. But then I quickly realized it was not any friend of mine. A complete damn stranger. I jumped out the couch, still not really believing this isn't a dream, and said firmly, "Who are you?" The person then quietly said, "Hey." I said, "What's going on? Who are you?" Getting ready to defend myself, I quickly realized this person was shit-faced, mumbling and stumbling. It turned out to be a college student from the college nearby. They got so blacked out and somehow entered through the front door. It was freezing outside, and he was shivering. I let the guy sit down on the couch, gave him some water, and when he came to, he decided he really wanted to leave. I asked him if he knew how to get home, and he insisted he did. None of my friends woke up through this encounter, and to this day no one really knows about this, except the friends that slept through all this. My daughter, 4 years old, black hair, pale skin, came into our bedroom in the middle of the night, hair in her face, middle of the bed by our feet, and started climbing up towards me and my spouse. Remind you of a movie? I was 13 years at home asleep, 4:35 am, and awoke to what sounded like a plane or train hitting the house. Windows smashing, car alarms blaring, large objects falling and dogs barking. I didn't know what it was. I got up and fell over. The ground was still moving. It was a 7.1 earthquake not too far away from my home. I was terrified. When I was 8, we moved and I had to share a room with my little brother. There was an empty room in the basement, but my parents didn't want me staying there. Finally, after months of begging, they reluctantly let me have the basement room to myself. Not long after, I was up too late reading when I saw a pair of gleaming eyes staring at me through the window. I knew it was a vampire. I cowered under my blanket until morning and never slept in that room again. In hindsight, it was definitely a cat. A white figure walking slowly towards me. Unfortunately, I had fallen asleep while reading and left my lamp on. My mother had woken up to use the bathroom in the night and noticed the light from the hallway, so came into my room to turn it off. In her white dressing gown. I'm incredibly short-sighted, so without my glasses on woke up when she came in the room and saw the blurry white coming towards me. We both screamed so loud we woke the rest of the family up. After that she promised never to turn the lamp off again if I promised to contribute to the electricity bill if I left light on all night. Seemed better than another heart attack. Back in 2009, my mom, brother, and I still lived with her in her condo. She'd been diagnosed with breast cancer and both my bro and I were leaving college for the time being to take care of her. So I was home, and she was pretty sick from treatment, but my brother was still upstate as he hadn't gotten out of school yet. My room had sliding glass windows that lead to a semi-flat rooftop that was shared with basically all the other condos on one side of the street. One night I was on my computer, depressed as shit, listening to music too loud to drown my feels, when my mom came into my room. Mind you, she wasn't walking around much because meds made her tired and I was up a flight of stairs from hers. She asked me if I was walking around. I told her no, I'd been sitting here with music, when she grabbed her chest and looked terrified. I jumped up from my chair by the window and ran to her thinking she was having some kind of reaction, when she just shouted, "Get away from us." I realized she'd been looking behind me. I turned and saw a man in a hoodie looking into my window. He'd flinched away when my mom shouted and was walking away like he'd been caught loitering. I remember feeling like ice had flooded my veins when I realized he could have been watching me at my desk for who knows how long. We called the cops and they basically did nothing. They told us to lock the windows and keep a bar across them in case they tried to break in. I decided keeping a knife by my bed that was within view of the window was the only way I would be able to sleep while there again. Our house had a break-in during the night. Our daughter was sleeping in the family room because she'd moved her bed to her college apartment. She came screaming up the stairs that someone was trying to kick in the door. Then we heard it. The whole house shuddered a bit with each strong kick at a door. My husband grabbed his shotgun, which wasn't loaded, and raced down the stairs. I called 911. After I spoke with the operator for a minute or two, the noise from downstairs stopped. I handed the phone to my daughter and ran downstairs myself. mad to find out what was going on. My husband was walking around the downstairs looking for intruders, and both kitchen doors were open. We have 2 kitchen doors on either side of the house, one on the street side, and one by a creek. The intruders had kicked in the creek side door, and not very intelligently, they kicked in the hinge side, instead of the lock. They got the door open just about when my husband ran into the kitchen. At that time he manipulated that part of a shotgun. That sounds like one is getting ready to fire it. When the intruders heard that noise they left and ran away. The local cop on duty showed up pretty quickly after that. Even though the crisis was over, my heart felt like a huge, strong thing squeezing in my chest. The cop checked the house and the neighborhood, but couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. He helped my husband get the broken door secured for the night, and recommended that we get a security system. We didn't go back to sleep that night. The police never did catch the actual culprits. There were 2 groups of interest, 2 groups of teen boys who tended to get into trouble were both sleeping out that night. We did get the security system, and a few years later started keeping dogs, large dogs,